You're my brother. Have I ever gotten you anything that I couldn't get you out of? We're just trying to get home. I have a plan!
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Views, and today we're talking about the new Michael Bay film Ambulance, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and wow guys, I'll be honest, going into this movie, I wasn't really expecting a lot. You hear Michael Bay and you go, okay, this guy makes a lot of Transformers movies, but this one actually was pretty interesting. Yahya Abdul-Mateen plays a character that finds out that his wife has been diagnosed with some type of, I don't know if it's cancer or disease, I honestly don't remember, it was a very small note, but he needs money for an experimental operation so that he can help her. So he turns to his brother, who's a career criminal played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who's about to do a bank heist, and much like Point Break, he's pulled into a situation that he did not intend for.
I am an FBI agent!
I know, man, isn't it wild?
Going into this, guys, like I said, Michael Bay, not my biggest director. He tends to blow stuff up. The last 5 or 6 Transformer movies I didn't even see because they just seemed like something that would be made for like a 14-year-old, which is pretty true of most Michael Bay movies. It's kind of always been his thing. It always kind of feels like, what would happen if you filmed a kid playing with action figures, and then you took that film and you gave it to Michael Bay, he turned it into a script and then filmed it for a big screen. It's over the top, it's kind of crazy, and that's just what you expect from Michael Bay. With that said, I was a giant fan of things like The Rock and earlier films like Bad Boys earlier on, and this seems to be what we're getting this time around. One of the biggest pros, going straight into pros, has to be Jake Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal, who I've loved even before like Nightcrawler, is fantastic. I think around Nightcrawler is where I was like, I love Jake Gyllenhaal. And he brings exactly that type of manic insanity that you love from Jake Gyllenhaal these days, and I was here for it. He's charming when he needs to be, he's charismatic, and when he goes crazy, it is chef's kiss. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who was also in a whole bunch of great things that I love. The Trial of the Chicago 7, he was in Watchmen, he was in the new Candyman movie. Didn't love the Matrix movie, the new one, the Matrix Resurrections. Wasn't a fan of that. I don't blame him though. But he's pretty good. He kind of carries the emotional weight. He is the Paul Walker, the Keanu Reeves who's just kind of stuck in this scenario. And I'll admit, I enjoyed the hell out of this. There's even a scene where they make a reference to the movie The Rock. Michael Bay is definitely trying to let you know I'm doing a throwback to the 90s. Because one character says, yeah, it's just like that movie The Rock. And then the guy's like, the actor? He's like, no, the movie from the 90s. It's very intentional. It's very on the nose. He's telling you that I'm going back to my roots and I'm here to stay, which is great because if I have to see one more trailer for a Transformer movie, I'm just never going to watch Michael Bay again. I think Jake Gyllenhaal elevates the entire movie way above what it should be. I think if you put a lesser actor in the lead for the Jake Gyllenhaal part, the movie is much lower, but it's great seeing a fantastic throwback, an action throwback to the 90s, much like the movie The Rock and Bad Boys and stuff of that nature. So I'll admit, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. With that said, going into negatives, it is not without its faults. Obviously, it's a Michael Bay movie, so you're going to have certain tropes. An excessive amount of explosions, which I'm fine with. The little things that really bother me, though, is that sometimes this feels like a Taco Bell movie. Sometimes it's like, little things, like, one, for example, it over-explains things to the audience because the assumption is that the audience watching is dumb. And maybe there's some truth to that, but I find it kind of annoying. For example, and there's a lot of these examples, but there's one that comes to mind. The driver, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, is O negative, and the guy in the back of the truck is losing blood, so he volunteers to donate blood while they're driving. So he's just like, I'm O negative, I can donate! And the EMT is like looking at the camera going, that's great, because O negative means that you can donate. And it's just, you don't need those little extra lines of dialogue, because, give the audience a little bit of credit. And if the audience doesn't catch it, they have a smartphone, they could look it up. But don't spoon feed it too much. That's one of the problems. The other problem I had with this movie is, you really have to just leave your brain at the door, because think about it. You have this ambulance who's trying to get away from every single black and white car in the city. And for no reason whatsoever, these cop cars just get destroyed without even coming into contact with the ambulance. They just come out of nowhere at like 80 miles an hour. They fly in like it's Grand Theft Auto. They land. The ambulance doesn't even sideswipe them. It's just like they come flying in, the ambulance makes like a wide left, and the cop car just like randomly loses control and crashes into a barrier. And you're like, what? And this happens a lot. I started to get reminded of the Blues Brothers. You know, that big finale? Because that was kind of what it felt like. But with that said, guys, that's my only 2 little critiques. But that just kind of goes with Michael Bay. If you like Jake Gyllenhaal, if you like what he brings to the table, I think he largely elevates this movie to what could be kind of like almost a classic. I don't know. Time will tell. I was getting vibes of Point Break and Collateral by Michael Mann, which are 2 like really fun movies. If that's your bread and butter, go check it out. I would recommend it. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been John here on Burns Reviews. You just got burned, and we will see you next time. Oh, I give it a 7 out of 10, by the way. There you go. Boom. See you next time, guys.